Welcome, everyone, to our July mindfulness refresher. And I hope you're having a good summer. And I'll open it up for any comments in a moment just to see how things are going. If you have any questions about your own mindfulness work and your practice and any challenges you're facing. I was chatting with Jim before we got started about vacations. So hopefully you've either had or planning a vacation. It's always kind of nice to have something to look forward to, right? But also I found for myself, it totally mixes my own practice up, when I'm on vacation, because your schedule's different. It's not the normal routine. And so I found in some ways it was better. I was able to find times and different kinds of practice I would do, more in the moment, more on the go, on the beach, for example, or riding my bike or something like that. So anyway, I'm curious to see if any of you have similar experiences, how you're adapting to your own little getaways or just new, different ways of kind of getting through all this. So to get started, I presented some of this information at another meeting. We review our employee and family resources activity. And so I thought I'd just present this to you. This is from Beacon Health Options, which is our provider, our vendor who actually provides the direct services of employee and family resources program, which is our employee assistance program. We just call it something different. But we've heard an awful lot about the mental health needs having increased. And so some of this just sort of backs that up. That Americans report being depressed 3 times more than they were before the pandemic. So that's kind of a depressing or sobering stat. And then these are the top reasons that people used our particular employee and family resources program. And just to give you a little bit of the number, so these actually mirror our own usage pretty much. Like there's, well, first of all, in counseling cases, we've seen something like 1,400 employees in the year 2020. So that is going up a bit. And the big areas that we see are in stress, anxiety, marital relationship / family. So those are some of the big ones. We do see a fair amount with depression and what they call situational adjustment. We also see a lot of people for our work-life services. That's anything that helps people find resources for their family. Could be childcare, elder care, things for the home, even travel and recreation stuff. So keep that in mind. And that number is a pretty big number too. I don't have it off the top of my head. But plus legal and financial usage, that adds about another close to 1,000 employees that have used the service. And then there's our website, where we have a lot of great information on, and we pushed a lot of information or a lot of links out to over the past year. And we had over 11,000 unique users in our health system. So that's like, about a third of our total health system used our website for some, either, an article or a webinar or a meditation. We have a whole page of the meditations on there. So we've been getting good usage. And this next slide talks about again, in general, behavioral health needs. It used to be about 1 in 5 before the pandemic. They estimated that 1 in 5 adult Americans would have some sort of behavioral health need. Now it's up to 1 in 3. So that's a pretty big jump. And then that 52% number, I like to point this out because 52% report being more open about their mental health and emotional health due to COVID. And I think that's one of the big blessings, in a sense, or the silver linings, that we've all been through this together. We all realize that, you pretty much can't go through this whole crazy time without being affected in some way, right? We've all had some losses. We've had to adapt. We've had some emotional ups and downs. And then they're projecting going forward about a 50% increase after COVID, if there is an after COVID. But anyway, the point is just that we all have these needs. And I would like to say to you folks, this is a great way to kind of like take care of yourselves. This is a fantastic, all this meditation and mindfulness stuff really helps in this. It kind of gives us a protective layer to a lot of this stuff. I have a couple slides at the end about the program. You probably know about it, but I just kind of wanted to remind you about ways to access services. So, and I'll send the slides out later to you all. So I'll probably just send it to the general group. Okay, so just wanted to present those. So before we kind of get into the pause, let me just kind of open it up and see if anybody has any questions or comments or experiences about your own ways of applying some of these mindfulness practices. Either, just the way it's been where things are kind of opening up, but also maybe on your vacation time or some of those other ways, perhaps that you found ways to apply some of these practices. And I did mute everybody, so you'll have to unmute yourself or feel free to use the chat. You can do that as well. Anyone?
But I think what I have found is that trying to schedule mindfulness is, especially around vacation and work, is a continuous challenge. The more I can do it in a situational thing, whether it's at a stoplight or just select moments where they just come up as an opportunity, it's much easier to do. But to say I'm going to do it at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, good luck.
Yeah, I find the same thing, although I have found a pretty regular morning time to do it for myself. But you're right. I mean, so look for those opportunities and those transition points. A stoplight is a great example. Even in the car, we can do this stuff, or even, as we're walking somewhere or riding a bike or doing some exercise or walking in nature. I'll talk about a few other pauses, but any other thoughts or comments or suggestions?
I agree with you, Bud, about, taking the opportunity, maybe a stoplight is not long enough, but occasionally, you've got to wait for a service or something, or you're in line and you could just stop and take that time as a gift almost, right? Because if you were going through the line quick, you'd just be consumed with moving your wagon forward or whatever. But take those extra moments to try to think about, something positive that day, or an opportunity to think about other people or something. And I find that works better than trying to schedule hard time. But like yourself, I take the morning time when it's a little bit dark and the day hasn't started for just a few minutes for myself to kind of become aware again of the day.
I love it. Excellent suggestions. Thank you, Barbara. I mean, there's all kinds of times where we stop and pause, just natural pauses in our day, and we can use those as a gift. That's a good way to think of it. So try that. And of course, I mean, and I know you all join this session and other sessions to get some formal practice in, but keep doing that as best you can on your own too. Other thoughts? Any other?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Roberta.
So I just want to say how grateful I am that you're offering these sessions, because I actually forgot about it for a moment and I went on my calendar and I said, oh, it's happening today. And it feels so critical right now for me in my life to have mindful practices. And I feel so much better when I take the time to pause through my day, when I start feeling myself with emotions that are coming up, feeling out of control, not knowing what the future is going to be, that's still going on for me. And it's so centering and grounding that I have tools. And so I'm really tapping in when my nervous system is anxious or scared. And I'm saying, okay, I have something I can do to pause. And what's really helping me is eating mindfully. Uh, Putting away my phone. It's really hard because I want to like do two things at once, but really nurturing myself to digest well and assimilate the nutrients, because I know that that's going to help me with my immune system and my digestion. So it's all encompassing. You know, mindfulness is part of my life. It is my life. And, you know, it's not that I don't get off track, but I keep coming back to it, keep coming back. It's like the muscle, you know, you keep strengthening the muscle, the neural pathways in the brain. So I'm just so grateful that we have this in the system to support us. And I also teach some of this to staff, and I get to remind myself while I'm teaching. So
That's right. Yeah, thank you, Roberta. Thank you. All wonderful points. And you know, you're right. I mean, more than ever, we need these kinds of practices. And you've gotten to the point where you will naturally become aware of when you're feeling whatever, you know, emotion or thought or tenseness comes up, that, oh, that's an opportunity to stop and pause. And if you do that a number of times, it really will make a difference in your overall stress level. And in fact, I'm going to touch quite a bit on that towards the end. So the two meditations we're going to have today, one will be about relaxing, and then the other will be about stress, moving from the head. You know, so much of the time we're kind of in our heads and into the body. So anyway, I'll intro that a little bit better once we get to that point. But just to remind you that there are quick and easy ways to take these pauses. And it is so powerful. It just helps us change gears psychologically, helps us to reset, just like you said, Roberta, you know, to kind of center ourselves and ground ourselves, even if it's just for a moment. And these are just some examples. I've had similar things like these up before, but I just give you some of these. Deep breathing we know about, but there's, you know, that to me, I've heard so many of our students going through our classes say that just the breathing awareness and taking a few nice, really full, deep breaths, breathing into the belly, breathing out long and slow, that can make all the difference in the world. So keep all of that up. Savoring, stopping and smell the roses. You know, a couple of you mentioned that, you know, being aware of positive things, pleasant things that are going on, and not just letting them come and go. Try to let them sink in. You know, that can make a difference too. That can actually strengthen the neural pathway. Movement and stretching, progressive relaxation are all great ways. And I'm going to actually, when we do the meditation in a moment, we'll start with a little bit of that. And then remember the everyday mindful awareness, you know, when you're doing a routine activity, whether it's brushing your teeth or washing your hands or doing the laundry or waiting for the computer to boot up, whatever it is, you know, to just stop and slow down and be aware of what you're doing. I'm so glad you mentioned about the mindful eating. You know, I haven't done much about that because it's kind of hard, you know, can't pass out raisins or something. But maybe next time we'll do something like that. I'll ask you to bring a piece of fruit or a raisin or a piece of chocolate. And maybe we'll do a mindful eating exercise. That would be nice. But then there's all sorts of other things, you know, that we do that we can really bring mindful awareness to. You know, music. Now where things are, you know, my wife and I went to an outdoor concert, and, you know, just to let it pass through you in a mindful way was just fantastic. You know, gardening, exercise, being in awe of nature, you know, really appreciating the beauty of nature. And then of course there's always babies, puppies, and kittens. So you can find them in various ways. I'm lucky enough to have a new baby in the family. I'm a grandfather, and this is my grandson, Eric. He's now about 10 months old, and he's just been such a joy. You know, it's just always brings a smile to us. And that's my wife, Michelle, and my mom, who's now 93. So we had the span of 10 months to 93-year-old here. And here he is kind of getting to know her a little bit better. So, I mean, my daughter just sent over another picture last night of him gooing and gogging and gurgling and laughing to himself. And, that's him. That's more of a close-up. But, it's just like, wow, he realizes there's nothing better than that, right? But, whether you have that or, of course, there are the kittens, I put this up just as a reminder, there's, this is my standard mindful movement slide, but kittens and other ways to kind of just find ways to make yourself, or to allow yourself, I should say, to smile and to have that pleasant moment, to be, really to appreciate it, right? And then there's moments of awe. There's so many ways. This is a photo. It's not a very good photo, but it's from that red moon, or the strawberry moon in June. It was one of the biggest, I guess it's the largest full moon of the year. And we were up in Maine on vacation, and it came up out of the water. And there was a little bit of cloud there, as you can see, just below it. So it was just beautiful. And a whole lot of people were standing on the beach watching this moon, this beautiful, big, huge. It was kind of red as it got larger and higher. So just appreciating these moments of awe. There's actually they studied that sense of awe, of being aware of just the beauty around us. So look for those opportunities. And then just reminding yourself to give yourself a break, literally and figuratively. Find ways to take those breaks, whether it's a relaxation break or a social break or a movement break or a solitary break or a nature break. Listening to music, or pulling up some photos of a baby in the family, or all those kinds of things really can make a difference and help to give you some energy. So just a reminder, I'm moving through this kind of quick because I do want to make sure we get to the meditation. So this is the first meditation. I call it taking a stress break for yourself, but it's a combination of a couple of things that I've come across fairly recently based on the work of Tara Brach. It's one of my favorite instructors. And then also, I've mentioned this before, but if you haven't checked it out, there's a podcast called Meditative Story, and it blends storytelling with mindfulness. So it's usually they're about 15, 20-minute stories, and they stop a couple times during the story and remind you to kind of, remind you to check in with yourself and notice, what's happening in the moment for you. Take a breath, be aware of your body. And it's just a fascinating way and a different way to bring mindfulness into your life. There's one recently that they put up was about a nurse's story. So if you're interested in that, I know we have some nurses, and of course we all work in healthcare. So that was really a good one. If you look at the past episodes, it probably goes back about 2 or 3 episodes. Really powerful story. It's called A Nurse's Story, and the nurse who tells it is Wayne Little. So anyway, enough of that. Let's do this meditation. And so, as we often do, just finding a very comfortable position to be in, and couple of questions about that. I'll put that in when we finish that. So let's just find a comfortable meditative position. Kind of making the decision that there's no need to give any more attention to anything else than what's happening right now. Letting the body be however it wants to be. Noticing how you've naturally settled into a comfortable position. And the body already knowing what it needs to do. Just taking a moment to sense into the body awareness. Feet on the floor, seat in the chair, arms and hands resting. Being comfortable and relaxed, but also being alert in the moment. Allowing yourself to smile, a tiny smile. And acknowledging that just this simple act of listening to this meditation is an act of kindness to yourself. And letting the smile be a reflection of that. Just kind of maybe quickly scanning the bodies, feel the shoulders from the inside out. Sense of dissolving, softening. Let the hands rest in an easy, effortless way. Experiment by softening the hands a bit more and see what you notice. How much aliveness you feel in the palms and the fingers. Let the chest be open. Let the belly be soft. Let the back be strong. Strong back, soft belly. You might sense that smile reach into the belly. Be aware of the sensations in the belly, in the pelvic region, around the hips and the buttocks. Just opening to the play of aliveness and the movement of sensations. Open up your awareness so that you're aware of the whole body from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes and everything in between. You know, we do spend so much time of the day stuck in our head, and this is the opportunity to do the opposite, to rest within the body, letting your awareness fill the whole of the body, letting the body relax and be still. And now let's invite the breath to the party. Taking as much time as you need to notice where in the body you can most feel the movements of the breath. Likely to be in the chest or the belly or the nose or the windpipe as the breath moves in and out. And just take some time to feel the breath wherever it is. And now this is where the magic can happen. We invite the breath into the whole of the body. So instead of feeling the movements of breathing in one particular place, make the decision to feel the breath in the whole of the body, from the top of the head to the tips of the toes, feeling the breath everywhere. Marrying the feeling of the breath with that of the whole body. All the body included, all the body welcome. Taking your time, there's no rush. The whole body breathing in, the whole body breathing out. And keeping a very quiet smile to yourself if that helps. enjoying the sensations of this, letting the breath be however it needs to be. And with this foundation, also allowing the rest of experience in. Touch, sound, smell and taste, sight, if you want to open the eyes a little bit. What's going on in the mind, what the mood is. Nothing left out, all included, all welcome. And if there is any peace or joy here, just leaning into that joy. If there's appreciation, enjoying that, because we're letting everything in. Even if distraction shows up, loving that too, and accepting that. Confusion, come on in. No barriers. Simply experience showing up. Awareness of experience showing up here and now. And so perhaps sensing our anchor in the body again, being aware of the breath in the body. And if your eyes are closed, take a moment to slowly open the eyes as we finish this first meditation today. Okay, so yeah, you might want to move, stretch a little bit, whatever feels right for the body. After we take that time to just relax and let go. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for being with me. If you have any thoughts or comments, put them into the chat. And so that podcast is called Meditative Story. And you can pretty much just find that where you get your podcasts. And it's great, it really is. A couple of you commented on that. So check it out. Part of that meditation was also from that. So good. Thank you. All right. So moving on, remember I use this cartoon all the time. I just can't get away from it. So, but it's just, remember, this is kind of a way to kind of declutter the mind, kind of open the windows and let, the real here and now shine through. This is what's happening now, like the dog is doing, so letting go of all the worries and concerns that we have. And that's mindful being versus having our mind being full. There's a comment here. I love the strong back, soft front concept. There's actually a whole meditation on that that Pema Chodron does. She's a Buddhist priest, meditation instructor. I think she has a website. So if you just Google her, Pema, P-E-M-A, Chodron, Chodron. And you know what? I could be getting that mixed up with somebody else. Well, anyway, I'll try to find that, and then I'll send out a link to that.
I was going to say the same thing, but I was going to say I used to work with Pema.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If that's who you are talking about, but
yeah.
Awesome.
Now that I'm really thinking about it, it's somebody else who does that. I have it somewhere. But yeah, it's a neat concept. Strong back, you kind of focus on your spine. The back is nice and strong and stable, but then the front of the body is soft and soft belly. And so, like I said, I'll try to find that and send it out to you folks. All right, so let's see, moving out of autopilot. So this is the second part of what I came across. This is also from a 10% Happier podcast that I listened to recently. And the guest was, let's see, let me scroll down and get her name, Emiliana Simon Thomas. And she's with Greater Good in Action, which I believe is with Berkeley. It's a great resource, by the way, Greater Good in Action. And they do have a newsletter, so if you want to sign up for that, and the podcast was on 10% Happier. And they have a course called The Science of Happiness, which apparently is free on edx.org. So you can check that out. I plan to do that. But anyway, she talked about this equation, and this is how we get to chronic stress. So there's a stressor, something going on in our life. But here's what's in the middle. What's in the middle, and what the equation for setting us up for stress that really can be harmful to us, is this rumination and or self-criticism and or stoicism. So in other words, if there's a stressor, something, going on in our lives, and, kind of when isn't there a stressor? If we tend to ruminate on it, if we worry, if we kind of catastrophize the situation, we're really adding fuel to the fire. And then if we also sort of get down on ourselves, the inner critic comes up, and we're kind of saying to ourselves, the world is always against me, and why is this always happening to me? And I can't handle this. And we're stuck in that self-criticism. And or if we also then decide to kind of be stoic about it and just sort of stuff it, ignore it, do whatever we can to stifle it, that's really an equation or a recipe for chronic stress. So alternatively, if we can be mindful, and this is where, the practices that we do here really help, I think, with all of these kinds of situations. If we can be mindful about the situation. So I think a lot of us, of course, we do naturally tend to project, and we worry, especially in the past year that we've been through. It's easy to obsess, right? It's easy to ruminate and project about all the awful things that could happen. So the mindfulness reminds us to come back to the present moment. What's here right now? So to stop that cycle of rumination. And then there are self-compassion meditations. There are ways to also remember that we can stop that cycle of getting down on ourselves. And then also this helps us to be stronger to face whatever it is, and to not tend to stuff it or to stifle it or to push it away, but to meet it as it is. And you'll remember we've talked about things like RAIN, the acronym, which simply is recognize what you're feeling, accept it or allow it, to be with it, and the I is to investigate it with kindness. So the RAIN really helps kind of this whole thing. But so I just wanted to present this as a great way to kind of, in a sense, say the same thing as what Mark Twain said. My life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened. And, that's the way the mind works. It brings up all kinds of what if scenarios. And we do often project and awfulize or catastrophize and worry about things that haven't happened yet. And this is kind of what can happen as we sort of feel very overloaded and burdened. And we've done some meditations on thought, being aware of thought, so that when we can notice thought patterns that aren't helpful, in other words, thought patterns that tend to do this, tend to build up and add on the weight and the burden of the particular situation. Being aware of the thought, noticing those patterns, letting them go. And so the next meditation, we're going to try some of that. But it's this idea, and I've presented this before, but that we're not troubled by the thing itself. It's the same thing as that equation. but by those opinions and beliefs we have about those things. So that's where the beauty of this is, because in the second quote by Viktor Frankl, that we can really find that space between stimulus and response. And in that space, we have the moment to choose, to not react automatically, to choose our response. All right, so let's do the second meditation for today. And this one, again, like I said before, is the idea that so often we do, when this stuff is happening and, the things are swirling around in our minds, we're feeling like this, it's helpful to come into the body. So we're going to start with some mindfulness of the body. I'm going to add some, this is kind of a mix. I'm going to add in some self-compassion. So if we do, and most of us, all of us, I'd say, tend to get down on ourselves at times. And we're going to also bring in this imagery of clouds. And that when thoughts come that are not helpful, when those patterns of thought and emotions come that are difficult, we can kind of be aware of them, but then let them go. Try to let them kind of float away on the cloud, and you'll see how that is in the meditation. Okay, so starting our second meditation, again, being comfortable however you are sitting or whatever position you're in, finding that position that's helpful to you, just kind of knowing, letting the body find that, being aware of the sensations of your body in the moment right now, closing your eyes. But actually, let's start with before closing your eyes, keeping your eyes open and looking in front of you and just being aware of the visual field and not looking at anything in particular, kind of keeping a soft, open gaze and just noticing colors and textures, and breathe in and look to your left. So breathing in, moving your gaze all the way to the left, and then a long, slow out breath. And as you do that, sweeping your vision now all the way to the right as you breathe out. And again, just noticing what's in front of you and to the sides of you. Breathing in when you get all the way to the right. And then breathing out, again, sweeping your gaze in the opposite direction, taking in the whole visual field. Coming over to the other side, breathe in one more time. And then breathing out, coming back to center. And then allow the eyes to rest. Allow the body to rest. And bring your awareness into the body, noticing what's happening in my body right now, with a sense of curiosity. Maybe you can notice the pressure of your butt against the chair, or a gentle tickle of the air at your nose, slight tingle. Whatever you notice, just continue to be curious about what's happening in the body right now. You don't need to choose or reject any particular experience. Just notice what's most dominant for you for a few moments. And of course, the mind may get lost in thought or may travel away, thinking about your next meal or what you need to do next. Remember, that's not a mistake or a problem. That's part of the process. But rather than go down that road, just bring your attention back to the sensations you feel right now in the body as a way to stay connected to presence. So like we did before, But like a camera, you can zoom out and get a picture of the whole body. What's the feeling of the whole overall body now? Not how you're feeling emotionally or mentally. How does the body feel? Light or energized or sluggish or warm or cold? Just notice. Now we zoom in. And without moving your hand, how does your right thumb feel? And if that's too specific, can you get a sense of how your right hand feels? Just being aware of the very close zoom in to the right hand or right thumb. And then again, widening out the zoom and being aware of the body and the breath in the body, noticing the air entering and leaving the body, maybe being aware of the belly rising or the chest rising and falling. And bringing an image to mind of a beautiful place. Might be a beach or a wide open field or somewhere in the mountains. Maybe it's a place you know or one that exists in a film or book or just in your imagination. And looking up, you can see a wide blue sky with just a few puffy white clouds drifting by. And notice any thoughts going around in the mind. And as you notice a thought, see if you can visualize it shrinking and place it on a passing cloud as it floats by. You might notice that some clouds get stuck or move more slowly, and others sail by more quickly on the air currents. And some change their shape or size, but all of them eventually pass by and drift away. Just take time to notice thoughts and feelings, placing them on a cloud, letting them drift away. Now, for the last part of the exercise, we're going to come back to our breath. Feeling the breath, maybe take a couple of deep breaths. So feel the big in breath and a big out breath. Allow yourself to release as you exhale. And recognize that you're nurturing yourself with each in breath. So pay particular attention to the inhalation and notice that as you breathe in, you're giving yourself what you need in the moment. You're nurturing yourself with each in breath. And if you're struggling in any way in life, breathe in some other quality that you need, kindness or love or compassion. And breathe in this quality with each inhale. Allowing yourself to receive this nurturing. And then Now focusing on the out breath. Bring to mind someone you know or are aware of who's struggling or just needs some compassion. And allow their image to arise in your mind's eye. And direct your out breath to them, sending them what they need in the moment. Kindness or love or compassion. You might even form a word that gently rides on your exhalation, or a feeling of warmth, or an image of a golden light. And with each out-breath, send something good to this other person who you care about, who may be struggling. And we just acknowledge that all of us as human beings struggle, as does this other person. So breathe in something good for yourself. Breathe out something good for this other person. In and out. In for me and out for you. And if your mind starts to wander, you can refresh the image of yourself or the other person in your mind's eye and just refocus in for me and out for you. Just letting yourself be absorbed by the breath of compassion. When you're ready now, releasing your focus on the breath and on this practice. And simply come back to your body. Allow yourself to feel whatever it is you're feeling in this moment. And to be exactly as you are. Opening the eyes if they've been closed, and taking a moment to stretch and move a little bit. And again, thank you for your practice. Thank you very much. We're a couple of minutes after. I'm sorry, I usually go over this. I should make this 50 minutes or closer to an hour. But again, let me know comments if you have any comments about that mix that I kind of put together. And remember that the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. And then we can choose our mind. We can change our life. So just some inspiration. So I have a bunch of other stuff here that I just added in because I'll, kind of send this out, focusing on the positive, a couple of things for that, gratitude, 3 good things. And I have some slides on the EFR. So I'll send these out. I'll send them to the list. Let's see, what will I finish on? Reminding you about the Take 10 phone meditations. We've got some stuff on our website and on YouTube, so I'll send these out as well. And thanks very much for joining me today. And feel free to let me know if you have any suggestions or thoughts or needs about any of this stuff going forward. I'm happy to try to incorporate. Somebody just mentioned something to me the other day I thought was a great idea. So, whatever you come across, I'm definitely open to that. So thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and take some time for yourself. Take some of those breaks. Continue to do the mindfulness practice, and be well. Be mindful.